explain to me from a fan's perspective why relegation is the correct is the best outcome for Tottenham right now.
No, the best outcome isn't actually relegation. But I've arrived at relegation because the best outcome is non-achievable. The best outcome is our fan base actually stands up to ENIC. And unfortunately, they're not interested. The data proves it. The online ENIC out, Levy out noise is far less than the match day going fan noise. The biggest protest we had this year was about 150 people. The reality is, I go to the games on a match day, the stadium's packed, sometimes there's some empty seats. The club shop is busy, people buying merch. We lost 4-1 to Arsenal, the most humiliating North London derby I've seen at White Hart Lane, and the South Stand's packed after the game, beers are flowing, hot dogs, burgers. Nothing is going to change from our fans' behaviour forcing some kind of change. Our fans aren't interested. That's the reality. Our fans don't care. Yeah, they'll chant the odd ENIC out at an away game. They'll go online. They'll moan on TalkSport. They'll moan on podcasts. They'll moan on YouTube. 95% of the moaners do fuck all in terms of trying to force change. They're just moaners, all of them. So for me, the only way ENIC change is if they face catastrophic financial distress. And the only thing that will instigate that now, because the fans aren't going to do it, is relegation. That's the kind of pain they need to be feeling, dealing with, the chaos that comes with it, because then their business is hurt. It's not my asset, it's their asset, it's their business. If Spurs go down, the price of cheese, bread, milk isn't affected for me. Spurs getting relegated doesn't affect how much money I earn. So if they go down, their asset gets hurt, their business valuation gets hurt, their cash flow gets hurt. And the only way they will fix that income and that business valuation is to focus on football to get back the business, to get back in the Premier League and to get back into European football. They're going to need to put down a foundation of proper footballing philosophy, proper development of academy players progressing into the first team, proper scouting, really scrutinizing the transfers and saying, can we afford to spend this money on this player? And does this play make sense? Sticking with the manager, with a philosophy that matches the recruitment, and to not sack the manager because they won't be able to afford to keep sacking managers. We will never, ever, ever get a footballing foundation at this club under ENIC whilst they are protected by the comfort of Premier League income, European income, and a fan base that will always bow down to them rather than fight against them. So for me, we are in a predicament now where, you know, unless ENIC sell the club, which they haven't, and it doesn't look like to me they're going to, there's lots of noise, there's always noise. They're not going to sell the club, in my opinion, anytime soon. The fans aren't going to stand up to them. So the only way ENIC will be forced to focus on football is to fix the business that gets damaged by relegation.
And that was your 3-point Stelegation.
The Stelegation.
That was a party political broadcast on behalf of the Stelegation party.
Correct. Delegation party.
You say that you're not affected, right? You're not affected financially, but you are a stakeholder in the football club.
No, I'm not.
You are a stakeholder. Is a fan. Is anyone that has an interest in the
I'm
club
a customer.
doing well.
I'm a customer, Sean.
No, you're a client. Actually, you're a client still.
A stakeholder is anybody that has a vested interest in the club doing well. Right. That's the general term for a stakeholder.
So I'm prepared, Sean.
I'm just trying to understand why.
Sean, I'm prepared as a stakeholder for short to medium term dissatisfaction of being in a championship and being there for a while, for the club to repair itself on a footballing front, for me to then say that's why we had to go through that. Because they're not going to do it in the Premier League.
What makes you think that relegation is going to change the path of history into the future? If you have no faith, no confidence in these owners, and you've got 20, according to you and people like Lubo, 25 years of evidence to support your narrative, what is it that gives you so much confidence that you're willing to take? It's not just like, it's not short-term pain for long-term gain. It's short-term and medium-term and potentially long-term catastrophe on a whim and a prayer that something will manifest in these guys that hasn't manifested in the last 6 years of decline, let alone the last 25 years as you see it as failure. So I disagree with you on the 25 years. I agree with you on the 6-year thing. But like, where do you come to the conclusion? To me, it sounds like you're saying because nothing has changed whilst we're in the Premier League, therefore, like option B is something catastrophic has to happen, and then that is going to be the catalyst. And it's to me, it's like it's a hit and hope. It's like it's like a Hail Mary. It's a Hail Mary of the utmost proportions. But in the meantime, you're basically guaranteeing for the next 5 years that the football club is on its knees. And that even if we do bounce back up again, we are going to be part of the same conversation of teams that every year, the 3 teams that go up are generally the 3 teams that go down. I don't understand the risk reward of your.
But we will come up with a proper footballing foundation and the capacity to compete in the way that the Burnleys that come up and the Brentfords that come up can't compete. We are an animal. We are now a juggernaut of a business that the owners don't know how to run from a footballing perspective because they've got it.
We won't be a juggernaut if we go down. We're like we are technically, with all the debt that we have still, we're like the guy who drives around in a Ferrari, but and has a £10 million house, but £9 million of it is mortgage.
Yeah, but if you sell Mickey Van der Ven,
we are fucked.
Thank you. That's the perfect analogy, Sean. This is the one I was going to go. It's called fur coat, no knickers, mate.
That's no. You, for me, there's solutions to these things. You sell Mickey Van der Ven for 80 million, that services the debt for 3 years. So you can talk about the massive debt. It's not how much debt we're in. It's can we service it?
We still owe money on that. We still owe money on Mickey Van der Ven,
and the payments. Yeah, and we can service the debt through payments. We won't have an issue with that. Where we're going to have an issue is we won't be able to go and spend 50 million on Solanke, 65 million on
300 million though. Still 300 million. 300 million we owe in wage in just in that.
Yeah, but that 300 million is staggered payments.
Yeah,
we don't owe 300 million in one go.
No, agreed.
Yeah, so it's serviced. Can we service the debt in payments? Yes, we can.
What about the 145 that's rupped off straight away from the Premier League? Yes, we get parachute payment, but that only really negates it if you come back and bounce back in the first year. Yeah, our biggest issue is the FFP and PSR, where you can listen to that nonsense the press were talking about earlier today. There's only 2 players that could possibly have a 50% cut in wages, and that is Conor Gallagher and Sousa. Because I'll tell you something, there's no way when you were pitching to Mickey Van der Ven or you were pitching to Kudos, oh, come to us, and Xavi Simons, come to us, we're going for the title, we're going for everything, believe in us. Oh, and by the way, just at the bottom here, could you just sign this little clause here which says if we go down you only get half? No, not a chance.
But Johnny, okay, so but here's the problem. Last year we finished 17th. Most of the fan base, or a significant portion of the fan base, were crying blue murder. We lost too many games. The manager sucks. He can't be finishing 17th, so they sacked him. They then brought in a manager and repeated the same thing, okay? They repeated the same thing, but worse. They barely backed Frank. They backed him to some degree, they did, but then they didn't really back him. They backed him to enough for him to be doing better than what he should have been doing. But the reality is, nothing changed. Nothing changed after sacking Ange at boardroom level, managerial level. None of the academy players got pushed into that first team. So what you're finding is, even when they do get a little scare of relegation, nothing changes. The only way they will change is if either they sell the club, which or if they're financially.
Will you at least acknowledge, Stel? Will you at least acknowledge that there's a massive leap of faith in your logic? But you might be right that nothing has changed.
But there's a massive leap of faith staying with them as we are now.
I don't disagree with the logic that nothing has changed, right? Nothing has changed. All these things, all these like promises of ENIC 2.0 and all that. I hear nothing's changed. We've got worse and worse and worse. Right now it's peak poor. But will you at least acknowledge that this logic train that you're on is that because it hasn't worked, whilst we have had a scare after scare after scare, but we remain in the Premier League, and that they're still going to get their 60,000 50,000 season ticket holders, and we're still going to fill up the stadium next season.
Merch sales.
Nothing's going to change. I'm with you potentially on that, but will you at least acknowledge that your leap of faith is that something will change fundamentally if we go down, and you don't know that to be the case, and there's no evidence of it getting relegated has ever been good for any football club? When was the last time that a team that went down immediately came back and nothing manifestly changed apart from positive outcomes?
I did say we might not immediately come back down. I'm prepared to stay there for a while for them to fix it. An example of a big club that went down, came back and is better now is Aston Villa.
But where's the logic that it was the relegation that made that be the case? It was the new owners that came in that was the case of that, right?
Yeah, during that process. So maybe relegation will force ENIC to say they don't want this asset anymore because it's become so chaotic and painful. They don't want to deal with it. It might trigger that.
I'm pretty sure the new owners came into Aston Villa before they went down.
Sean, can I come in here?
They brought them back up. So but the question was about relegation. They went down with new owners, and then those new owners, look what they've done to the club now. So
but
relegation didn't cripple those owners.
Correlation or causation? I don't know. I think all I'm saying is I'm not saying you're wrong because I don't know. We don't know, right? You might end up being right, but I'm just sorry, Lubo. You can come in now. But my point is, Lubo, Stel, would you at least acknowledge that could be correlation, not causation, and that you are also rolling the gauntlet on assuming that because nothing has changed whilst you've remained in the Premier League and that our fortunes are dwindling every year, that you're making the giant leap of assumption that going down will suddenly change the pathway in the minds of the ownership? There's no evidence to suggest that would be the case apart from the hope that doing what we're currently doing isn't working. So let's put ourselves in a wildly weaker position and then hope that is the catalyst for change. Is that
no? It will put them in a weaker position, not us.
No, I'm not saying that. The Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. I'm a stakeholder in Tottenham Hotspur.
It will put ENIC in a worse position, and therefore they'll be forced to buck up their ideas because
that's the point. I'm saying the therefore that you come to that conclusion is a giant leap.
Yes,
giant leap.
It's not a giant leap because it would be forced on them. The financial distress will force them to change their behaviours. They won't be able to behave like a Premier League club.
Make better decisions. Just like listen, I might suddenly want to I don't want to get a vaccine in my arm or whatever. So I'm not a scientist, but being forced to make a decision doesn't make me suddenly more educated on whether or not vaccines are a good thing or otherwise. Like I'm not necessarily going to make a better decision just. Do
you know why they keep sacking managers? Because they can afford to. If they go down, they won't be able to afford to keep sacking managers.
No, hang on. Sean, I want to come in here. Levy couldn't take the heat. He got the heat. He sacked the manager. That was it. Let's take the Levy out with Nuno.
Who sacked Frank? Who sacked Frank?
No. Who sacked Frank? Wasn't Levy. No. On that occasion, it wasn't Levy. Let me tell you,
nothing's changed.
Still, seven reasons why this is a disaster.
Oh my God!
Why don't you pick five?
Been making a list. Why we're not Burnley? You say, we want to be like Burnley. The highest wage payer in the Championship this year is Leicester on 42.7. We are paying 260 million. Bit of a drop, would you not say? Bit of a drop.
Yeah, it's a big problem for
ENIC. We've got to work that way. The revenue, 90% of our £565 million revenue, just over 91%, I think it was, is football related. 9% is on the
300 million. It is, Lubo.
That's not true. That's a lie.
Lubo, that's not right, mate.
300 by a long lot. Scrap that 7-point plan straight away, right? We're on point
Lubo. It's Lubo, it's 300 million.
Johnny, sponsorship deal, etc.
Sponsorship.
We don't take
outside sponsorship is £300 million, right? Off-field sponsorship is 300 million.
Right, but that's nothing to do with Beyonce and the boxing and the NFL.
No, that's £55 million.
That's what I'm saying. 55 out of 565 is just under 10%. That's point 2. Point 3, we have a debt of 1.1 billion. Not Burnley don't have a debt of 1.1 billion. So, okay, if you can manage the debt, you've still got to have money still to rebuild the club. Players, we are going to lose 15 players. What level of players do you think are going to come?
You need better
us?
scouting, better recruitment, and academy pathway.
Really?
But all those things aren't going to necessarily eventuate just because we're relegated.
And
they won't have a choice.
That brings me on to the next point.
You just explained they won't have a choice.
It's like saying I don't know. I'm trying to think of an analogy off the top of my head. Yeah, of course you can. Sorry.
Let me finish. Still, this brings me on to the next point. You think we can do better this, better that, better that? We've got a board that are clueless, completely clueless.
And you want them to carry on in the Premier League?
All of a sudden, right? The next thing is that we've got to work within 15 million losses per year.
It's over 3 years. Over 3 years.
Over 3 years is that? So that's 5 million a year.
We scrapped the 7-point plan because 2 of the points are redundant.
No, right, and then
I thought this was Lubo's 7-point manifesto, but it's actually a more intelligent 5, 6, 7-point manifesto I've ever heard.
It's the one. The
relegation manifesto.
These are the ones
Lubo has a little bit of logic going on. Carry on, Lubo.
These are the ones I've been quoting for the last fucking 2 weeks.
Right,
it's exactly the same numbers.
Then still, so these owners are going to suddenly. These owners are going to suddenly have the commitment and the drive to make our football club successful after 25 years, when our biggest profit making year was the year we reached Madrid. We made 138 million net profit. They still weren't interested in taking us on to the next step. And when we finished second in 2017, right, Poch was told there's no money for transfers. All the money on players being sold, you can have. The fees were too high. He never sold anybody. So when they saw nobody was coming in and buying our players that Poch wanted rid of at the prices that Levy wanted, why didn't the Lewis family and Levy put their hand in their pocket and say, right, there's 100 million, Maurizio. We're second. We are the highest points total. We might not have won the league, but we've won more points in the last 2 years than any other club. Now we're there. People want to join Tottenham. We're an attractive club to join. We're an attractive proposition. They wouldn't put their hand in their pockets to take the club on. Why do you think, if we're going to go down when we're second in the league, Champions League coming up second year running with a fantastic team, and they still didn't bother? Why do you think with relegation, you all of a sudden, after 25 years, guys, let's show some interest now?
Because Lubo, to answer your question, because they don't need to push on from the position you described, because they're guaranteed Premier League money and they've got the Champions League money and they've got their income. When their income is hurt, they have to respond, because they're not going to sit there and watch their business devalue year on, year out. They're not going to sit there and just watch their cash flows dwindle.
Can I
answer you, Lubo? Can I answer you? Because I sat there listening to a 7-point. Lubo, I just want to answer your 1 point. They will be forced to. When the stadium was being built and they faced some increase in prices, some cost overruns, do you know what they did? They found the money because they had to. This ownership, when they have to find money, when they have to find a solution, they will. And the only way out of this will be to either focus on football or sell up. And I think they'll be forced to focus on football.
Yeah, but again, this is the leap of faith, and I want to get Johnny's take as well, because Johnny hasn't spoken about this. But just my contention. Listen, it is what it is, right? I personally will never ever root for a bad outcome for Tottenham Hotspur, regardless of what I feel about the people that are running the club. I'm not going to.
It's not a bad outcome. It's a long-term good outcome. It's a short-term.
You're describing it as
short-term emotional hit. It's an emotional hit short-term.
I hear you on it, but the logic for me stops at the point of assumption, right? And your assumption goes from if the club has money, they don't give a shit about the football. When the club will no longer have money, all of a sudden they'll be forced to focus on things that they haven't focused on before. That is a massive assumption. Even if that's true, it doesn't mean that they're suddenly going to become better decision makers with the footballing decisions that right now, we don't even know if there's a footballing decision maker that are making the decisions on the footballing side of the business. And there's a lot of evidence from what Johnny and I have been told by people outside the football club that have access to these things. And it seems to be consistent with people on Twitter that are also ITKs or whatever that are saying that the footballing decision makers were overruled on regards Thomas Frank and with regards Igor Tudor and with regards the Roberto De Zerbi and with regards players like Ademola Lookman, that it wasn't the footballing people that were making those decisions. So I personally, like, I hate your argument. No, not personally, but I personally can't stand the argument that short-term pain relegation is long-term gain. But even if I'm going to get on board it still, I still have a problem with the logic that if they're forced to make better decisions around football, that's suddenly going to happen because of relegation. It's the biggest risk-reward imbalance for me that I've ever heard. Because even if you think that you hate these people more than anyone else, you and Lubo hate these people, that you think these guys are terrible, and you might be right about all that stuff. So where is the confidence that all of a sudden relegation is going to make them geniuses in their decision-making process?
It will be forced upon them. Listen, we've had good people at this club. We've had Mitchell. We've had Poch. We've had good managers. We had Gabbianini. We've had good people.
Better decision makers still.
Sean, they're able to identify and bring in good people into the club. They've done it before. The problem is they've never stuck with it. And the reason they've never stuck with it is because there's no reason for them to stick with it, because they're in their comfort zone. Once they're out their comfort zone, they'll be forced to stick with something. For the first time in their entire ENIC ownership Tottenham lives, they will have to sit around a table and actually draw up a proper football plan.
They don't know how to still. They don't know how to.
Lubo.
These are the worst owners.
Lubo, if they put their heads together and just focus on the football, not all the metrics of money, they will find a way. They're not stupid people. They're not thick. Lubo, they're not thick.
Honestly, this is the first time in 4 years of me knowing you that you've ever given these people the credit of being able to make a good decision, and you're assuming that under duress.
That's not true. I gave them credit for not sacking Ange and sticking with the manager who won them the trophy, because normally they would have sacked the manager.
Oh, but your general opinion about Daniel Levy is that he's made a series of catalogue of bad decisions.
You said I've never given them credit. I have, but very rarely.
Very few. Fine. So my general point is, it's been a hard, like, most of your narrative over the last 4 years is these people don't know what they're doing. You're suddenly giving them the credit under the duress of relegation to suddenly know what they're doing.
5 years ago, I joined a protest group where only 20 people that were called idiot, divisive and toxic and scum, that's what I was called, with Daigle and a few others, joined a protest group, and we were told, be careful what you wish for. 5 years later, all those people that said that, where are you now? They're in the chat now saying to me I'm wrong again. I was right 5 years ago about this ownership, and I was right about where they'll take this club. And I'm telling you now, the only way ENIC will change is financial
what were you right
pain.
about then?
Sean, if all the fans decided to start walking out of the stadium or boycotting games or really putting the pressure on them, I'd say, yeah, let's stay in the Premier League and ramp it up. Our fans won't do it. Hold on. Who's going to cause them the kind of distress that's to force them to change?
Again, this leaps of faith here in your logic. So a minute ago, you just said 4 years ago, you were saying that these ownerships are not, these people are not worth their, like, they're no good for Tottenham.
5 years ago, I said ENIC are the problem.
You were right then, right?
Problem.
Okay, same owners are still in place, but now you're giving them the credit to make better decisions when they're under duress.
I'm not giving them the credit. They'll be forced to.
Forced to do what? But by your previous logic, to continue to make bad decisions, just in a worse scenario.
They'll be forced to focus on football, which they don't do, Sean. They don't focus on football.
But how are you?
What's the change?
Why are they suddenly, even if they're forced to make footballing decisions, why are you assuming that the footballing decisions that they're going to make is going to be good ones?
Because they are driven by money, and they're going to need to make them right. Otherwise, they won't see their Premier League money again. They won't see European football money again. So what they'll do is they'll sit there and actually say, right, we've completely got this wrong for a very long time, and self-audit. Not get some self-audit and say, we need a football director that we stick with and we back. We need a manager with a philosophy that matches the football director, and they work in unison and we stick with them. These academy kids, they need to start playing for this club. They will be forced to make those decisions, Sean.
We don't know
They'll
if
make some
they're good
mistakes.
enough.
They'll make some mistakes, Sean.
Honestly, of the four of us right now, I can't believe, having known you for 4 years, that you're the only person on this panel right now that gives them the credit to make the right decisions in the championship.
Because I know what they do when they're under pressure financially. The reason Frank got sacked is because they feared losing their money. That's why Frank got sacked. They feared relegation and losing their money. That was the only reason. So when they do go down and they do lose their money, you see what they'll do. They will have to start getting it right. They won't have a choice, or they'll be forced to sell up. One of the two will happen.
Hang on a sec. Can I speak?
Lubo, just 1 second. Sorry, but I've taken up too much time. Sorry, Johnny hasn't had a chance to speak yet. I'm going to shut up.
I haven't said a word yet. So look. The thing is, look, Stel, you're entitled to think what you think, right? Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But for me, assumption is the mother of all fuck ups, right? Assuming that this leopard is suddenly going to change his spots when they get relegated, I personally don't believe. What I do believe is the best thing that can happen is that we escape this nightmare by the skin of our teeth. I think we get the same scenario that they have realised, by the skin of their teeth, by fortune that they nearly lost over half of their fortune. Because I don't believe this club would be.
You said that last year when we finished 17th.
Well, no, I didn't say that. I just thought that they would move. But you got to remember, they got rid of Daniel, right? Which they had no smooth handover. They had no plan. They got rid of Daniel. They all thought this was a piece of cake. Daniel ingrained himself. I said this numerous times, so I don't want to keep repeating myself. But Daniel ingrained himself into every aspect of that business. He knew him and Vivian have never ever got on, and he knew at some stage when Uncle Joe was teetering on the edge that these kids and whatever the rest of the family, the Bouchers, would make a play. They took him out, and they did not think that how ingrained he was. Not only did they take him out, they took out his inner circle. They took out Cullen. They took out this one. They took out that one, and all he's seen is everything implode. It's imploded like a house of cards. And let me say, Daniel sat there watching it all unfold. See, you thought you could do this. This is what the result is. But for me, I don't see how, suddenly losing 145 million from TV money, losing all our sponsorship money. We get 40 million a year from AIA, right? That is going to drop straight away when we're not in Europe. And it will be further negotiated if we drop down to the Premier League. There's caveats in all of those things. Our income will drop off of a cliff. We do not have pain. But the problem is, it's going to be pain for us fans, because us fans, not only are we going to see
it's painful now for you, Johnny. It's painful for us now.
Yes, it is. But I'd rather have the pain.
It's also this idea of short-term pain is based on presumed long-term gain
for the last 6 years.
I would want the pain.
There's no guaranteed long-term gain from your scenario, Stel.
Okay, can I ask you a question then, guys?
Let me finish. I'd rather have the pain. I'd rather have the pain being in the Premier League and then them having to address the shit show that they presided over in this last year. Without Daniel, it is worse. And
Johnny, the decline's been the last 4 years. If you look at us,
I know what the decline is. I'm talking about this lot, right? I'm well aware. I've been following this club for even longer than you. And like what I would say to you is, I'm well aware of everything that's taken place. What I'm saying is, I don't want to self-harm, right? I don't want to be sat in the Championship watching us having to sell player after player after player because we have got no choice, because we have no 50% calls. But we will have to. We will have to sell players, and then we will be forced to buy in players like Armstrong and other players that, should we manage to get back up in their first year, none of those players will be ready and fit for the Premier League. It will take.
You're making assumptions. You're making assumptions about. No, sorry, Johnny. You're making assumptions about.
Well, you don't think we're going to have to sell the vast majority of our players?
No. That's not the bit that you made an assumption on. You made an assumption on specific players we'd sign and whether or not those specific players would last.
So hang on a second. You think we would sign?
You don't know who we're going to sign.
Hang on.
You don't know who we're going to scout.
You think we are going to sign? Hang on. You think we're going to sign players? We struggle to sign players when we're in the Premier League. What players do you think we're going to sign when we're in the Championship?
Well,
that
when
are
you
a
have a
better
footballing,
level than
By the
what
way,
we've got.
who's Armstrong? Which Armstrong are you talking about, by the way?
The one
You're-
that went to Wolves.
Johnny,
Okay.
we
Stel,
sign
Stel,
players
Stel,
right
can I ask you a
now.
specific question? Stel, can I ask you a specific question?
Can I say one thing to Johnny? Then I'll answer it.
Yeah.
We sign players now with no footballing plan. If we get relegated, they will have to have a footballing plan because
But
they
they're
won't.
not capable, right? You said they're not capable.
For 4 years, you've been saying they're not capable.
They've not been capable in their comfort zone, knowing they've always got the umbrella of
You're
Premier League
assuming
money.
they're out of their comfort
fans
zone.
not
Suddenly they're going to manifest.
Where was
into the
their
double
comfort in
premium.
January? We were up Shit's Creek. How are they in comfort? How are they in the comfort zone now? They're
Because
not.
I don't think they ever believed they'd get relegated. I never thought for 1 second they thought they'd get relegated.
So
You might be right.
two questions. The more imminent question, I want to understand your logic. So, will you? Let me just ask you a couple of yes or nos. Are you on board with the fact that if we get relegated, despite the fact that David Ornstein came out today and said that Daniel Levy, my chairman, had the foresight to put in 50% reduction? Shut up, Lubo. I'm not finished my point before you come in.
You shouldn't be advertising that fact, Sean.
I read the same thing already. Don't worry about it.
The Daniel Levy put in 50% wage cuts in a world where they go down, right? But the vast majority of the players will want to leave. The vast majority, right? And there'll be bids for them, and you don't necessarily want to take players down who don't want to be a part of the rebound. So, are you at least on board with the concept that you're going to have to sell a few and then replace a few, or sell a lot, replace them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If the players that you sell are the top end of our squad, you're going to replace them with players that are willing to come to play, even if short term, they're going to be championship to bottom half of the Premier League level players. So weaker talent on paper than what we currently what we'll be selling.
I agree. I don't buy that because I don't buy that because if you have a proper scouting and a proper recruitment system, you can unearth Dele Allis and Chris.
We don't have that. We don't have that, right? We don't have that.
Going
Correct.
to the Premier League or to the Championship? What chance?
Regardless, Stel, we don't have
Correct.
that right now.
I'm trying to answer you. I'm trying to answer you. They'll be forced to break. They'll be forced to develop it
immediately.
No, which is why I said we might have to be down there for a year or two, maybe 3.
How many? Leeds were down for 16
You're
years.
encouraging.
Yeah, but you're looking.
By the time we get
Yeah,
back
but
in the league.
you're looking. See, Lubo's going extreme like he does with everything. You're
Forest
looking at the most
down for 20
extreme example.
years.
We could become like Leeds, mate. We won't be like Leeds. Get over that. That's
We
nonsense.
will be
won't
exactly.
like
We'll be worse than Leeds, Stel.
No, we won't.
We'll be the
won't.
biggest
No,
fire
you're being
sale.
drama queens. You know, we will not be like Leeds. Our business model is far. We are going down as a far different. We are actually a really good business.
We
We're
owe
going down
much
completely
more than
different.
Leeds ever did.
What is
It's
in your
serviceable.
scenario?
We can
In your
service it.
scenario, who
We
is
can
the
service it.
who is the biggest name, the biggest branded name, the biggest talent in our football team that goes down with the ship?
What, that stays with us?
Yeah,
Archie Gray.
The biggest name that's well, we don't really have any big names, Sean, other than Van de Ven. And
okay, well, let me
Romero.
throw some out for you. Van de Ven, he's going to be gone, right?
He'll be gone regardless this year.
Oh,
yeah.
Romero,
I'll read it
He'll be
out.
gone regardless.
go on, Lubo. Read out the squad and let Lubo say. Let Stel answer.
Is this
Romero
your
and
sale
Hang on.
manifesto?
Who's going to sell? Sell. Tell me who's going to stay.
Romero and Van de Ven are leaving anyway, guys. Sorry to
Hang on,
say.
hang on.
Sale. This is Lubo's sale
One might go. If we
manifesto.
stay in the Premier League, I think
Most
will
fans
go
want
down.
Romero gone anyway.
Hang on one sec. Vicario, if we go down, Vicario,
Gone.
gone.
I think he's gone
Gone
anyway.
regardless.
Okay,
I think he's gone
Dragerson.
regardless. He
Gone.
might stay, maybe.
No chance. His agent thinks he's Real Madrid level.
Maybe. I said maybe. I never said yes or no. I said
Stay,
maybe.
stay.
Danso
He'll
might
probably
stay.
stay.
One. Palini has gone anyway. He's on loan. Xavi Simmons.
Gone.
He'll be gone.
Basuma, they won't.
He needs to.
He's out of
balloons
contract.
a week. He'll stay.
He needs to go anyway as part of a clear out.
Fine. Richarlison.
He needs to go anyway. Shit.
Gone. Madison.
Top goal.
He's injury prone. Bye bye.
Gone.
He won't be playing and he'll be on full wages.
He's injury prone. Get rid of him anyway.
Tell.
He might stay.
Odebear.
50-50. Odebear will probably stay.
Out for a year.
Archie.
He'll stay.
Stay.
Bergvall.
Stay.
He'll stay.
Maybe.
Right, you've got
If
four
you're looking
kids.
to
You've
go.
got 4 kids that are staying. 4 kids, and maybe Danso. Romero.
Gone.
He's gone anyway. He's gone anyway, mate.
Solanke. Solanke. Gone.
Gone.
Kudos.
Oh no, actually, Solanke will stay. He played in the Championship. He'll be happy to play there.
All right. So you got maybe Danso and Solanke. Kudos.
Gone.
He'll be gone.
God,
Kulusevski. If he
injured,
comes back
finished,
fit,
career done.
Mate, his knee's gone.
Irrelevant with
His
him.
knee's gone, and he's on full wages for another 2-3 years.
So these players need to go anyway. This is good.
hang on. Conor Gallagher.
Gone.
Gone.
Mate, he can
He's
go.
got
He
a
can
clause.
go anyway, mate.
He'll have a clause, escape clause.
He can go anyway.
Pedro Porro.
Gone.
Gone.
Most fans want him gone.
Jed Spence.
50-50.
50-50, yeah.
Odegaard will stay. He's out till Christmas anyway.
At least.
Paquetá.
Maybe stay.
50-50.
Bentancur.
Gone.
Injured.
He'll be gone.
Kinski.
He'll
He'll be
probably
our
stay.
top goal scorer.
He'll be. He'll be
Ben
the manager.
Davies. Ben
Gone.
Davies.
He's gone anyway. Ben Davies is gone anyway.
Yeah, he's finished.
Van der Ven.
Gone.
He's gone anyway. He's mate. He doesn't. He's not even playing at the moment. He's not even
Sousa?
playing.
Sousa.
He'll
Stay.
Stay.
19-year-old kid again. Callum Moani gone.
Gone.
Brandon Austin might stay. Luca Gunter's a young goalkeeper.
Now do the same thing if we stay in the league, and it won't be hardly any different, other than
if we
Kudus.
stay in the
Yeah,
league,
will.
The difference is that you can replace those players that want to go with Premier League
Better
level players.
with Premier League players.
But
Yeah.
we don't. But we don't because we don't
We
need
do,
to.
though.
Because
But they'd
we're
be forced
protected.
to, Stel. They'd be forced to, would they not? Because they'd
Johnny,
realise they
no,
nearly lost
no.
all their money.
Right. So
But
so
they're
this
clever.
is
You said they were clever. and
This
they
is-
would
this
see
is-
the error
this-
of their ways.
they're not clever under the protection of Premier League income. For me, this is where this conversation splits into two, right? You're either of the belief, like I, that only a catastrophic event will force change, or you sit on the other side of the fence with Johnny, where you think this is the catastrophic event, just surviving by the skin of your teeth. So you
No, that's not the conversation still. Sorry, that's not the conversation.
no, that's what Johnny said. Johnny said he thinks this will be.
That's what I believe.
The conversation
Johnny
I'm trying to. The reason I brought it up because I don't think anyone's challenged. I've seen you bounce around channels and saying your point, and I don't think people have challenged you on this. It's where does the assumption come from a guy who has been for the last 4 years that I've known you have absolutely. You give yourself all the credit in the world, and I give you the credit as well for being one of the early adopters of the ENIC out, Levy out thing. I always disagree with you on Levy. I never had a stance on the ENIC thing, but all of a sudden, Levy's gone. By the way, he shouldn't have gone because he was the guy that was holding this fucking ship together.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Fine, but
What's that?
ENIC, you have had no confidence in ENIC for the last 4 years, and you are making this giant leap of faith that because they're going to be under the pressure of suddenly having to pivot to our money's under threat. We need to figure it out. All of a sudden, you're giving them the credit for being able to make the right decisions that they haven't made in the last 4 years. When
No.
their
Still,
revenue's
before you
gone
answer-
up anyway.
No,
Like, that's
Still,
the-
I'm giving them.
Still,
I'm
Still,
giving
before
them.
you answer-
I'm giving
Still,
them.
Still,
I'm gi-
before you answer,
Yeah.
let me just add this because I want you to answer me along with Sean's. Look at the clubs in the Premier League. Arsenal, owned by a sporting franchise. Liverpool, sporting franchise. United, sporting franchise. City brought in people from Barcelona who they gave the responsibility to. Chelsea, sporting franchise. Okay, Fulham, calm, sporting franchise. Now tell me, please, what do these owners know about sports? Please tell me you think they're going to start making fantastic decisions and proper, well thought out decisions, right? Based on my 7-point manifesto, not a chance. Not a chance. All of a sudden, we're in the Championship. And when you say about coming back, Southampton, Derby, Portsmouth,
Swansea,
Ipswich,
Birmingham,
Swansea.
Middlesbrough.
Tiny football clubs. Not even in our bracket. Don't compare us to those clubs, please.
The last time we
Don't
went
do
down,
that.
we
Don't compare us
struggled.
to Ipswich and Middlesbrough.
And the one thing is still the one thing is that if we go down and there's a massive player.
This is a really long question because I haven't
Hang
even
on,
answered
hang on,
Sean's
hang on,
question.
hang
You're just
on.
going to a rant.
There's one in,
I don't even know what the question
one
is
in
now.
There's one very important point that I've been meaning to make all
What
night.
is your question? You said you wanted to add
This
a
is a
question.
47-point manifesto.
What is the
I've
question?
got to ask it still.
No, get to the fucking question.
Still,
You said you were going to ask me 5 minutes ago.
Based on my 7-point relegation manifesto, right? Do you not think the Lewis's will say, do you know what? To hell with this. We can't actually work within this criteria. Let's keep the football side small. Let's keep it ticking over. Let's put the money into more property.
So you think they're going to watch 2 billion wipe off their business valuation, their cash flow diminish by 50% and say, well, that's okay. You think they're going to do that?
That question really wasn't the pertinent one. Sorry, Lou, but
that's his question. He thinks
it was a terrible. After listening for 2.5 minutes, that was the worst question ever. Stel, let me ask you this, right? Because I think Lee Enigma put the question.
By the way, I haven't answered any of your questions yet because you keep asking me more questions before I get to answer.
Okay, the question that I want answered is, again, why is it that you think that the people that you've had absolutely no confidence or faith in over the last 4 years will suddenly be able to become great decision makers regarding football? And just saying the word that they'll be forced to doesn't satisfy me. Secondly, Lee Enigma here, great question, Lee. He says, ask Stel why he thinks that us going down and then coming back up means ENIC will change their ways when they get back in the Premier League. Even though you're going to come back up with a team full of players that are not as good as the players that you sold, right? If they're in their comfort zone now, the second they come back up, they're not back in their comfort zone again.
You're adding bits to his question.
Yeah, that's what I do here, mate. I'm the hostess with the mostess, you know?
Right, leave that question up and I'll answer it. I'll answer Lee.
Okay, leave it up. Where is it?
To answer your question, Sean, what was your question again? Sorry, I've had so many questions thrown at me. Jesus Christ. I've had so many, mate, my brain's fried.
My question is, why do you suddenly have the confidence that the people that you've had zero confidence in for the last 4 years are going to be able to do it?
Because I'm of the belief
don't say the word that being forced will change their ability.
Because I am of the belief that all the decisions they've made from what I've witnessed have all been money driven, and they will make decisions based on finances. If their finances are crippled, they will be forced to make footballing decisions that are more superior to what they've done in the past because they want that money back. They want that Premier League money back. They want that European football money back. They want the big sponsorship deals back. And the only way they will get that back is if they actually have footballing plans and footballing focus, which they haven't had before. So my belief is they will be... Okay, I can't use the word force. They will adopt a completely different way of operating from a footballing perspective purely because that's the only way they get their business back that they've lost. That's why I believe it. And
you're basically invoking that they're suddenly going to become good at their job that they currently haven't been good at their job.
No, I think they're motivated by money, and when the money's taken away, they'll do what they have to do to get it back.
Okay, but do you think they can attract? Can they attract the same talent? Right? If you think that a better director of football is the solution to give, like you said it before for the last couple of months, Ralph Rangnick is your chosen director of football. Okay,
yeah,
you said about him. Yeah. Do you think you can attract Ralph Rangnick to come in if you're a championship level team?
I think they can attract. It might not be Ralph Rangnick himself.
So yes or no?
I don't know. That's the honest answer. I'm being honest. I don't know.
The answer is clearly no, right? He's not going to come.
It's not because Ralph Rangnick went to the Leipzig RB group when they were a nothing entity. They were in the Bundesliga.
They've been in the Bundesliga for years.
But they were
everyone would love Louis Campos, but say just throw the money at Louis Campos.
Hold on.
Campos if you're in the championship because you don't earn the money anymore.
Guys, 1 second. He built the RB group. The RB, you all know the RB is a group of clubs across Europe. Sure. He built that when they were nothing. So that's why I say I don't know. He might see this as a viable project. But regarding Lee's question, the reason I believe that if they bring us back up, why will they continue to push on is because for the first time, they will be in the Premier League with a footballing foundation, with a functioning academy development pathway process, with proper scouts, and with a system that they've never had before. And after going through all of that pain, they will never want relegation again. Once they've been burnt that badly, they won't want it again, which is why, Lee, I think that is the instigator for true change at the club with ENIC in control.
All right, listen, you haven't convinced me. Just for what it's
I'm not
worth.
here to convince you, Sean. I knew you were never going to be convinced.
I'm not buying a ticket. I'm not buying a ticket.
1%, if I'm lucky, will buy into what I'm saying. Just like they did 5 years ago when I said ENIC out. For me, most fans.
That's not correlate the same thing. That's not the same thing.
For me, guys,
your entire argument this time is basically 180 on what you said 4 or 5 years ago.
I was told be careful what you wish for 5 years ago, Sean.
Yeah,
for me,
and you should always be careful what you wish for. But by the way, you are now your solution, as crazy and as out there as it sounds. And now you're a very good spin doctor, Stel. You should be in politics, by the way. You're very, very good.
I say it as I see it.
Spin doctor. You're very good at making crazy solutions sound.
I was right about ENIC. I was right about Frank. I was right about these things. It's not me spinning things. I say what I see.
If you were right about ENIC, then you're not right about your solution now. Because
because it's about money, Sean. It's about saving their business. It's about they will make the right decisions because they need to save their business.
But you're invoking this notion that they weren't capable before, and that now they are going to be capable because money's on the line. You can't.
They were capable before. They hired Poch before. They hired Conte. They hired Gabbianini. They hired Mitchell. They have done it right before. The problem is they've never stuck with it. They'll be
so then again, my question goes to why do you expect that the Leopard's going to change its spots just because relegation's on the cards?
Because they want their business back. Because they're going to lose their business.
The environment in which they will be operating within in a championship means that they can't go and get the Pochettinos. They can't go and get the Paul.
Why they need to have better scouting.
They can't go and
they're going to have to work with the academy.
They're not offering the same solution.
Sean, they're going to have to focus on the academy players. They're going to have to focus on better scouting. They're going to have to focus on better recruitment.
Well, the academy players might not be good enough unless you bring back Vuskovic and Mikey Moore. And what's to say that Vuskovic and Mikey Moore want to be coming back to play in the championship?
Johnny, I know this is a wild take. I know some of you might disagree, but I think you're going to agree. What I'm watching from Tottenham this year, I reckon Vuskovic is better than Dragusin, and I reckon Mikey Moore's better than the wingers I'm seeing at Tottenham this season.
I don't disagree after watching him again.
So with all due respect, if going down means that those players play ahead of the Odeberts and the Dragusins, I'm all for it, man, because I'm not doing this anymore. Right? Can I ask you guys a question, right? I want to ask you guys a question now, and everyone watching the show. By the way, subscribe and like. We don't get enough subscribers for this channel. Give us
subscribers.
I've been forced to put on the subscriber mode only, not because I was trying to weed out the comments that were being donuts earlier, but just because I need you guys, if you want to participate in the chat, then smash the sub. Sub.
Our subscribers for the show that this is, we have 1,300, 1,500 here any one given time. And hundreds of you don't hit the subscribe button like it's costing you money. It doesn't cost you a penny. But what it does is it helps the algorithm and it helps us grow. And you can also hit the like button, guys. It's the least you can do. All right. Thanks very much.
And by the way, for the record, ENIC actually make better transfers when they spend less money. When they actually spend big, it's a disaster. Not that I think that should be the philosophy going forward, but it's just how it's worked out with this lot. I want to ask you a question. So I've put forward on this channel, my channel, other channels, and I'm going with this. I'm going with this whole, call it Stelegation, whatever you want. I'm actually putting forward a proposition. Right?
It's the greatest name ever, by the way. Still, you have to get that one like branded.
I'm with it.
Stelegation.
Stelegation for Spurs fan liberation.
Delegation's what you need.
Delegation for liberation. If I'm putting forward a concept to force a change that will focus purely on football, the scouting, the network, the academy, the manager, the whole shebang, because I don't believe ENIC are going to do it whilst they're in this constant comfort zone. So my question to you is this: how do you believe they are ever going to change? How would you force it? And don't say the fans, because the fans, they don't seem to care enough. So what would you do?
For me,
how would you go about?
For me,
focus on football.
I've been quiet most of the night.
Very simple. Very simple. We survived last game of the season. They get an almighty shock to see how their assets.
You mean what I said just before?
Should have been reduced by a full. I said it on the show last week, Johnny. If we're going to be like, you know what I mean? we're of similar mindset here. Let's just say that. They get a shock. They look at it and think to themselves, do you know what? We nearly lost 2 billion on our assets through basically rank bad decisions, not knowing what to do. I think let's just take our profit and let's get out of here. That's how they do it.
So you think next season
they stay in the
Premier League,
if they stay in the Premier League,
we're going to see this big change then, because based on what you've said, right?
I think personally, I think they'll sell. I think they'll sell within the year. I don't think to bring the club back to where it needs to be, because if we stay in the Premier League and they don't do anything, a few players will leave. We'll probably get worse players back in, and the chances are we'll be involved in another relegation fight next season. And to be honest with you, next season ticket attendances will drop dramatically if this carries on.
So Lubo, let me get this right. So you're saying next year, ENIC are going to sell the club, and Johnny, you're saying next season we're going to see an uplift in behaviour because this is the shock they needed. Is that right? Have I got that right?
I'm saying that I think,
and I want to know what Sean thinks on this as well.
I think the abuse that the abuse they've had to ride through has been a bit of a shock to them, right? I think they thought that they could ride into town and this would be no problem for them. Get rid of Daniel. We can do this. Not a problem. It's turned out to be anything and everything other than what they thought it was going to be. They thought in January we can ride it out. They got that wrong. They got Frank wrong. They got Paratici, allowing Paratici to go and not listening to him and deciding to back the Johan Lang. They bought in Heitinger, and 33 days later, he's gone, right? They've got every aspect of this is wrong. Not only have they done that, but they have managed to increase the wrath to on ENIC more so than what was there probably at some stage under Daniel Levy in the last year. And what I would say is there is a chance, should we escape by the skin of our teeth, right? Yes, it would make them focus, but I really do think it might make them question the whole point of their involvement. Do we really need this? If someone is really serious about buying this club, right, maybe this would be the catalyst for them to actually change their mind. Instead of building this up for the next 2 years and then selling, this might force them into an earlier sale. What I do know is if they go into the championship, we will be having ENIC for the next 2, 3, however many years.
So Johnny, you think they also are going to sell in the next year or two?
I think they will. I think they will, because I think the appetite. Who wants to have that abuse? Who wants to carry on with that abuse?
I don't think they care when they've got the money coming in. I think the money talks.
I think
it's more powerful than the abuse they get.
I hear what you're saying, but there's a point when you're already billionaires that you don't need to take that abuse. But listen, there might be a situation where they actually address the situation in hand. They bring in a Dougie Freeman who knows what he's doing, a football person, right, who's got a proven track record, that actually comes in and actually buys the players that we should get. And we get a manager like a Pochettino or whatever. So if you put Pochettino in with a Dougie Freeman, I think, yes, we could get out of this mire if they're prepared to back the managers, to back them and keep their noses out and stick to the financial
Johnny,
aspect.
I think they need a footballing plan that unites academy development into first team.
That's why I said Dougie Freeman.
They need a proper network of scouts. They need a proper recruitment criteria, not the one we follow. I agree.
Listen, I think we all agree that there needs to be massive change at the boardroom level. What was the question that you specifically asked, Del, that you wanted me to have?
I've put forward a proposal which creates a seismic shock that I believe will force them to now focus on football rather than anything else. Now, if you're against that, that's fine. What is your solution that realistically you see is going to happen if we carry on like this to fix this constant decline and just depression in the club?
Yeah, listen, we all want the same thing. I think we all want better players. We want a plan around who's buying the right players for a right model or philosophy. I think I spoke about this with Sava for 2 hours this morning. I think everyone agrees with what we essentially need. Obviously, it's simple to just say, have a philosophy, stick to the plan regarding, you know, a style of play, do what Brighton and Brentford have done. You know that Brentford are currently looking and probably aware of the fact that Sade is going to leave in the summer and that Igor Thiago is going to get bought for 80 million in the summer. So they're probably already working through their data model to look at and identify the next iterations of those sorts of players. You know that these well-run clubs have already got, they know what's going to happen.
Unless they're in Europe.
But either way, they're going to still be having conversations right now with the various people looking at their data and saying, chances are someone's going to come in for Igor Thiago. Someone's probably going to come in for this guy, that guy. Who's the next person that we can find out of Belgium, out of fucking Switzerland, whatever. And they're going to have these things in place, right? And these are the kind of A, Bs and Cs of well-run football clubs that have, it starts with a philosophy. And don't forget that, you know, even the managers that come into those teams, they already know that those managers are being brought in for a reason. So those managers know that they've been identified for a reason, because the things that they've done wherever they've been before make them a good fit for these sorts of clubs coming in. And so those managers aren't going to have to change what they're doing. They might have to, you know, adapt to who they're working with. But those managers are going to come in because they are the next iteration of whatever that club wants to be. And then those clubs are going to provide them with the new versions of the latest departures from those football clubs, right? But it's an ecosystem that evolves towards a destination point. And so the reason why these people are in the club, whether they're players, coaches, or anything else, or managers specifically, they're not asked to change their way, to adapt, because they're there for a reason. It was them that got the job because they're the next iteration fit. At Tottenham Hotspur, we don't have any of that. So I'm on board with you, Stel, in terms of we need all of those things. Where I dislocate my agreement with you is that I don't think that this ownership right now are the people that need to be doing this. They clearly are losing their grip on reality with regards how to fix the solution. They move from one pillar to the next, they move from the left wing to the right wing of the same bird, but they have no idea where they want to go. They have no plan. All those things need to come into play. Where I disagree with you is that you assume that the kind of knock on the head, the kind of clicking into reality of making them being perennial bad decision makers into suddenly good decision makers starts with going to a position where you're suddenly not going to have the money to be able to attract.
But sure, my question is, how do you then force it? Because I've given you a solution to force it, which you disagree with. What's your solution to this then?
My solution is my ideal scenario is that they bring in someone better that they eventually hand over the keys of the kingdom to. The similar thing
sell the club. Sell the club.
Well, either sell the club, right? And I'm more than happy to roll the dice with.
Do you think they will sell the club though, Sean? Because
let's get ear licking. Right.
I hear this.
I'm more than happy for Amanda Stabley and her consortium to come in. I'm more than happy to see what Brooklyn Eric. I'm hopefully going to get him on this channel on Spurs Talk Show and Football Week. I'm hopefully going to be able to speak to that guy and see what he's already reached out to me and said, you know what, like a lot of the noise around what his intentions are is misdirected. He can't wait to get the chance to be able to clarify what his intentions around his blueprint is. I can't wait to hear it. I'm hoping it's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So watch this space. But if it's not him, if it's not Wing Five, if it's not someone else, whatever, I'm just saying that we all want the same thing, which is that either this ownership gets a knock on the head and makes better decisions, and they bring in people like Ralph Rangnick, like Paul Mitchell, like Pochettino. I think you need a director of football that has ultimate control. And that or Dougie Freeman, Johnny, and you guys, I know we're over time right now, but if you've got 10 more minutes, I'd love to be able to speak about that quickly with you guys. Let me just finish my point and then we'll move into that. Got some super chats to do as well. But I want the same things as we all want, which is a director of football that has, ultimately a relationship with a manager where they can both have different KPIs, but they're co-symbiotic, where they both are shaking hands going, I know you need to do this for tomorrow. I need this for today. Can we meet in the middle here?
Yeah, Sean, do you think that's going to happen though? This is my point. If they stay in the Premier League, are they going to do that? I'm
not sure under this ownership still, but where I don't agree with you on is that going down where you suddenly lose 70% of your revenue, I don't think you're going to be able to attract the caliber of talent like a Ralph Rangnick, like a Louis Campos, like a Paul Mitchell. I don't think you can do that if you're a championship level team. So which is where I think that we dislocate. But we both want the same end goal, which is better decision making and a plan. But your idea is, well, we haven't seen a plan materialize as being a Premier League club for 25 years or 30 years, whatever it is, 34 years since the Premier League began. We haven't seen that. Therefore, the only way to see it is to go into this weird world of like horrendous departure from revenue. In order to be able to attract the best players, you need the revenue to do so. You're not going to get that if you go into the championship. And so that's where I disagree with you. I understand where you're coming from, but I think that your solution is based on some presumption that the only way to get better decision making is for these people to be put in a position where they're forced to.
No, it's
you're someone that hasn't given them any credit for being capable over the last 4 years. So you're making this giant leap of faith that when they're forced to, they're suddenly capable. And I don't agree with that.
They've shown they can make good decisions. They're incapable of sticking with it. That's their problem. They're incapable of backing
why does the championship scenario necessitate that they're going to be making those decisions that they've already? You already agree that they are capable of making good decisions. Why does the championship experience require that to be filled again? Can't this? I'm with Johnny that the scare of this is enough to be able to make a better decision in the
because they won't have the financial safety net in the championship that they do of the Premier League. They won't have the financial safety net
they won't be able to attract the people in that you think can make the better decision making.
But the recruitment and the scouting would be better. We'll be scouting better talent because they actually have to focus on scouting. Our scouting is atrocious at the moment.
Yeah, but why will it be better with 90% fewer pounds to spend and with less talent to be able to attract and make those decisions?
Because they're going to have to be shrewder. They're going to have to be that shrewd machine.
Doesn't mean they will be still.
They'll have to, Lubo. They won't have a choice. They won't be able to go and drop 65 million on Solanke. They won't be able to do that anymore.
They don't know what they're doing still.
I genuinely, with all due respect, mate, I genuinely think this idea that
protected. That's why.
I genuinely think that this conclusion that you've come to is more around you would like to see the club go down because it fulfills your prophecy from 5 years ago that the club is fucked with our ownership and
that's a cheap shot. Everyone right now knows.
I'm not trying to be cheap. I'm saying
it's pretty honest.
Your argument doesn't make much sense.
No. I don't need relegation to prove that ENIC are the problem. Right, I was ENIC out because they are the problem.
I know you were ENIC out, but you're suddenly giving them credit for being able to make better decisions.
Sean, I don't need relegation to validate my point because everyone now knows that this ownership is a problem. Everyone on every channel that refused to talk about it years ago all talks about it now. I don't need relegation to validate it. It's been validated. So I don't need to get relegated to validate my point.
So if your logic is sincere, then it doesn't make any sense.
My logic is nothing will progress whilst we're in this league with this ownership because the same doom cycle will repeat. We'll go through this every year. They'll get a new manager, they'll get a new director, and then as soon as there's a little disturbance, they'll shit the bed because they know they can get away with it. In the championship, they won't be able to get away with it.
Let me ask Stel this question. Let me ask Stel this still. Why did we get rid of Frank?
Because they feared the financial distress of being relegated.
Exactly. And tell me fearing that financial distress, what decision did they make regarding a new manager? Tell me.
They brought in what they thought was a survival expert that would keep them up.
How good was that decision? Tell me.
But I told you.
In your opinion.
The decision to sack Frank was the correct decision.
No, we had a chance.
The decision to hire Tudor for me was a joke.
When they're under duress because their asset is at major risk, and when their assets at major
because
risk,
they haven't built the football foundation to back it. In the championship, they'll have to start from a fresh plate of football foundation. Scouting,
it takes
recruitment.
Years.
No, it's a different starting point. Starting with 10 games to go and starting from a new season is two different starting points, Lou. But you can't compare those decisions. They're different decisions.
It's like building a business. It takes years to build a business. You can't just build an infrastructure at a football club in 3 months, in one season. It takes years.
Exactly. But they don't do it. They don't do it because they don't have to. They don't do it because they don't have to.
No, but you're looking to build a squad. if Poch comes in, it's going to take him probably 6 transfer windows to build this squad back up. That's 3 years. If you're work, and that's with better players, and more money. If
you think they're going to do all that stuff,
but they're no good. This lot don't know about football. Why do you think?
See, this is your argument's different to mine, because you think that by staying in the Premier League, they're in a better position to sell the club, and you think they will sell it. I don't think they're selling the club. I don't believe ENIC are selling this club. That's why I'm saying what I say, because my position is I don't think they want to sell it. I think they can see more value from it long term, from future sports franchises, maybe an NFL team. Maybe they can still develop.
None of that shit's going to happen if we go to the Championship.
They're not going to get any. Still,
so they're going to have to start focusing on. Do you know what, guys? We're going in circles here.
Yeah, we are going in circles.
They're not going to get an NFL franchise.
Let's just agree on the 0.01% on this argument, and I accept that. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it.